This is the Queen City Speedway, just north of Cincinnati, Ohio, the site of the American Speed Association's first race of the season. The number 99 Coors Silver Bullet cars belong to Dick Trickle. Like most short track meets, this will be a busy weekend for the teams. There will be 2 races, one each day, and Dick has brought his affectionately named Miss Kitty for the feature ASA race on Sunday, and a new 6-cylinder car for the Grand Mark Series race later today. Dick and Darlene Trickle hail from Wisconsin and have been racing for over 25 years. With his signature cowboy boots, Dick is usually considered the man to beat. His instincts and natural ability, including the reading of chassis setup by feeling the tire temperatures with his hand, have made him a legend. He's chosen his team carefully. Dave Gray, the loyal mechanic, and the usually quiet Wiener Krusitsky, who will do anything, work full-time with Dick. The engineer, Al Rutherford, who specializes in radios. Russ Ebert, who teaches auto shop in Minnesota. And the pilot, U.S. mail carrier Neil Jacobs, who flies Dick and others to the races, only work the weekends. The man who oversees the pit is the easygoing crew chief, Victor Getzloff. He's got the important job of supervising the team's tire sizing. He's also the jack man and the straw boss who keeps things running the way Dick likes them.
I think I got an elite group here. We're nothing fancy, but we work together well, and most of the guys that work for me or with me, I want them to work for me. If they're doing it for money, they're here for the wrong reason, because I'm sure that anybody can get a better paying job than this.
Oh, it seems pretty rough on you. You're always gone you're only home like on probably a Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday you're off to the races again sometimes, you know. Your bigger shows, you're gone Thursday, and you come back Tuesday and Wednesday, you know, you're gone again.
Unlike some racing bodies that may schedule a few days of practice and qualifying before the actual race day, this ASA meet is just Saturday and Sunday, which is fine with the Trickle team. They'll practice both cars this morning, with Dick hopping from one to the other as they make changes in the setup of each car.
We're racing every day. We would be here all weekend racing either way. We work on the one car all weekend and we work on the 2 cars all weekend. And I feel that I have a good enough crew that unless something goes wrong, that we should be able to just walk through it. You know, I don't think I'm putting a burden on them. It's a little exciting for the guy. I think the crew even likes it. In fact, if you notice, my good car isn't getting any attention. They're playing with the Grand Mark car all the time. And this car was built in a week and a half from scratch, and we got her down here. We run her in yesterday, and didn't run into much trouble, you know, normal things, you know, just a little tweaking on the chassis, and things are running pretty smooth if we can get through today, all right. We can always park it. We don't have to run it. The ASA Circuit Champions race is our primary race. The Mark race is our secondary race, and we'll treat it as so.
Granny, as they call her, will take some extra care because of the Grand Mark Series rules and technical requirements.
We're not really used to this carburetor sitting at a 90-degree angle, so we're going to be working on carburetor calibration and trying to clean the engine up a little bit coming off the turn. It seems to want to run a little fat, so we'll probably work on some float changes and possibly some jetting changes.
What kind of problem do you think you got to run into the carburetor mounted sideways as opposed to being around 90 degrees?
Yeah, the centrifugal force tends to wash that fuel to the outside. With the float bowl being at a 90-degree angle, it'll tend to bring the fuel toward the outside here and uncover the jets, which are located down in the bottom here.
As Dick takes first one car out onto the track and then another, he makes mental notes on the car's handling characteristics. From the viewpoint of the pit, Victor also makes notes. In practice, Dick drives almost gently, trying to get to know the car's personalities, as if having named them also gives them feelings.
I'm not out there trying to set any or win the hot lap session because it doesn't pay anything, so the big thing I'm doing is I'm out there feeling the car, let it do what it wants to and relate to me, so I can come in and have the crew and myself adjust it properly, where if I manhandle it or if I drive it accordingly, I kind of run the car and let it run through my mind, so when I get back in here we can make the proper adjustments for the car, not for the driver. And another side of it is, you know, everybody's talking and you don't want everybody knowing how fast you can or can't run. So if you think you're in the ballpark to get on the pole, you don't like to let anybody know, realizing we ain't got the pole, but I think we're in contention for it.
By late morning, practice is over and the chassis changes for each car have been decided. Miss Kitty gets a gear change to a lower ratio for the qualifying session. Dick and Miss Kitty tear up the track together on their 2 qualifying laps under Victor's watchful eye. They qualify 4th for Sunday's 250-lap ASA Circuit of Champions race. There's enough special things done just for qualifying, like gear changes, so that it's no real indication of what the competition will be like during the race. And starting 4th is better than respectable, because in short track racing, there's lots of passing. Then, it's time to roll out the other car for the Grand Mark race.
Well, this is our first Mark race, and being I'm a new guy in Mark series, they're going to start this particular race by the last year's points, and I don't have any points, so I have to start in the rear. In order to finish first, we must first finish, so I'm going to have to use my head going through traffic and try to get up, get to the front. Our plan is just to run the car maybe with one right side pit stop and hope we can get from the rear to the front.
Trickle wasted no time in fighting his way to the front of the pack. From a 13th starting place, he advanced to 9th by lap number 4. And now in lap 15, he's in 3rd place. The crew is ready for anything, even though just 1 pit stop is planned for this 150-lap sprint race. Only 1 lap later, car 99 moves into 2nd. Then suddenly, Dick hears trouble. He calls Victor.
Something's happening to the motor. It's running good, but it sounds different.
Dick hasn't noticed any loss of power, but when there's an accident on lap 20 and the yellow flag comes out, Dick pulls into the pit. Every man joins in the search for an obvious sign of trouble, like a loose spark plug wire.
Cap on! Cap on! Cap is on. Wire's all in it.
But they can find nothing wrong externally, so Dick rejoins the race, having dropped to 12th due to the pit stop. Whatever it is, this is not a small problem.
Must have broke the rock brake shot.
It acts to me like an exhaust. It's breaking up the whole intake, scattering intake. His whole pipes are rattling and banging in like one dead cylinder.
Then without warning, on lap 35, the oil pressure drops to nothing. And Dick is out of the race. Victor doesn't need to see water pouring out of the exhaust to know the block is cracked. But he's philosophical about it.
At least we know the car runs the first time out, so we'll probably run it next weekend up at home in a different class with a V8 in it, Let's concentrate on tomorrow now, right?
With Granny now a dead player, the crew ignores the race around them and concentrates on the ASA Camaro. Russ Ebert supervises the engine compartment.
Well, we, finalize all the wiring. We use tie straps like this and go around the spark plug wire to keep spark plug wires from coming off. And, of course, there's a retainer on top of the distributor that keeps the spark plug wires from coming off. We look the wiring over real good, look the belts, kind of nut and bolt everything, make sure we don't have anything loose, make sure the oil pump belt's properly adjusted. All those things that seem to nickel and dime you and take you out at big races.
Russ and I are real close. Russ is very particular, and if he says something on a car, what to do, it's right. It's been proven several times, and Dick knows it.
Well, Russell is the best man for me to bounce ideas off because his technology and engineering qualities and geometries and whatever, which I also have. 2 heads are better than 1, so together we can come up with even a better program than I could alone. Plus, he's a workaholic. He loves to work. I mean, he hates, when you take a half hour to eat, you are wasting time. And that gets a lot done.
By the end of the day, they're well prepared for the feature race on Sunday. At the official opening ceremony, Dick takes the limelight. While Far from modest, Dick Trickle is a straightforward guy and easy to get along with. He's made it a point to work with the same kind of people, creating a bond of mutual trust among the crew and inspiring loyalty in guys like Dave.
I could probably go and work on another team and probably be a crew chief, on a little lower class team. But there's no use going, and I feel like I'm with the best right now. Why would I want to lower myself just to improve my position? I'm not going to do that. Hopefully I'll be with Richard as long as he races.
As they begin the unique ASA start on the track, the crew is preparing the pit for the 250-lap feature. Al Rutherford is always too busy to see the first part of the race.
During the race, I'm responsible for setting the tire pressures on the tires we keep in the pits to go on the car later. That occupies a good part of my time because it's a type of deal where you have to go through the tires 3 or 4 times before they stabilize, before the pressure stabilize. Once that's over, you got a lot of time just standing around waiting for things to happen, and at times it's just that. It's just standing around waiting for something to happen. You always keep an eye on your car and watch the action on the track ahead of your car to make sure, hopefully if there's any accidents, that we can get around them. It's just a waiting game. The first part of a race is always the worst part. All the cars are, close together. If anything happens, it's going to involve a lot of cars, and they just haven't strung out. Once the race gets settled down, the cars are strung out, that feeling kind of goes away, especially after the first pit stop. Everything smooths down real well then.
On a short track like this, an observant crew is important because the driver can come back around so quickly to find trouble in his path.
Yellow, yellow, yellow! Turn 3 and 4, 3 and 4!
During the race, Victor really takes charge. He's a gentleman, but forceful when necessary. And the first order of business is a general meeting. Today, they'll be allowed to change 2 tires per pit stop. And in short track racing, choosing the tire size and compound is critical.
If your race car is properly set up, tires are winning and losing. You probably noticed that Victor wears the headset. Victor is our tire man.
Anybody wants to know anything about tires, if you'll tell them, that's the guy to talk to. That's why that car goes around the track, stays where Dick wants it. Between Dick and him, they number one in his job.
First thing he cares about my operation. He puts a lot of mental attitude into it. If I'm not there, he'll protect it as well as I will, and that's worth a lot. Secondarily, my memory's pretty good, but it ain't very long. And Victor has a real good memory, so a lot of times I have to ask Victor, remember this, or who's that, or what do we run here, if it ain't marked down, and that. And he's a very sports-orientated person.
Victor's Victor. He knows what's got to be done, and he tells you when it's got to be done. Sometimes we have to be told a little bit to start picking up our speed, but then when there is something to be done, and he gives you that little look and stare a little bit, you better get up and start doing something.
I think he has the respect of his people, and I think that any good leader needs to have the respect of his workers. I think that where you find a leader like that, you find a pretty daggone organized crew, and I think that's the situation we've got.
The race has been going well for the Trickle team, but the competition is tough. As Dick rejoins the race for lap 142, he'll move into 5th place. One member of the team who carries the burden of responsibility without the satisfaction of physically participating in the pit stop is Darlene Trickle.
I was racing for maybe a couple years prior to us getting married, and when we got married, I told her that I am going to race, hopefully as a career, if not as a hobby. So let's hope we can do well, because otherwise we'll be using the money for my job to race. And she says, okay, if that's what you want to do. And she's just been behind me 100% since, She only goes to maybe 10% of the races because she's also my business associate. She's the boss's boss, and she does all the bookwork, runs the office, just does. If I could ever get a a man to work as hard as she does, I'd hire him today. She's a big part of the racing. She's half owner, you know. I mean, I don't know what your laws are in your state, but in my state, she's half owner of everything I got, and I figure that's the way it is.
Around 2/3 of the way through the race, Dick is running fourth. Traffic is heavy, typical for a short track, and he could use more bite in his tires to move up further. Vic is vigilantly waiting for an opportunity to pit. Then on lap 191, it happens. As the race slows for the caution, Vic is both talking to Dick and rousing the crew to change right side tires. Time is precious, and as the leaders' cars fill the pits, the crews have a race of their own. As car 99 slides out of the infield pit area, the crew can be proud. Their pit stop was fast enough to pick up one position. Dick rejoins the pack in third place. Traffic has been under caution for 9 laps. With only 50 laps to go in the race, this may be the last chance to change rubber.
Is that you talking, Dick? 10-4, left side. Al, run. Left side, Dave.
Al Rutherford is the rear tire changer. Neil Jacobs is his carrier. Neil started flying Dick to the races and just got put to work. For weekend work, he finds it exciting.
Al and I do work. We work the rear tires together, and we practice and know his moves. When he's ready to get out of the way, then I'm ready to come in there. And of course, Al is a pilot too, so we have a lot in common. And I think he's a lot like I am as far as it's a whole different life here racing than what we're used to at home. It's just like 180 hours.
Their well-rehearsed teamwork shows no signs of them being only weekend warriors, and the pit stop is fast enough to get Dick back out onto the track, retaining his third place position. As the race enters its final stage, traffic is still heavy, and the crew is more alert than ever.
Well, the emphasis is on the last 15 or 20 laps, obviously. You save your best set of tires for them. I'm sure Dick drives a little harder those last laps, but ASA is so competitive now that you really can't just sit back and wait. It used to be that we could run, you keep the leaders in sight, try to stay on the same lap, and that was good enough. Anymore, it's not. It's 250 laps of racing. There's not a lot of laying back and waiting.
Dick has moved into second place. Mark Martin is trimming car 99's tail feathers, but Dick has his sights set on first place, and to get there he may need more rubber. Now choosing the tires is more important than ever.
Put these up there, both of them. I put scuffed ones on. We got one more. We got those tires in front of you at the left side. We need left side yet.
This is some of the most competitive racing you can find anywhere, and it's doubly exciting for the people in the pit. Dick is working the car hard to hold off the Challenger, but suddenly in turn 3 the car slips and smokes the tires. As Martin pulls past, it's evident that something has happened to the suspension. Dick slips back to third, then fourth. It's hard for a team that's used to being the aggressor to see their car simply holding on. After the race, they discover the problem.
The bolt busted off. That would lift you up like hell, huh?
Finishing fourth requires the same weigh-in and inspection as if they had won. But the team is more interested in examining all the details of what went wrong, even though it's frustrating.
Well, this is the fastener that holds the sway bar to the lower A-frame. And it broke, obviously. You can kind of see where the brake started right here and worked its way across. So it looks like we had a fairly small item move us back a few positions because the car got extremely loose when this bolt broke. And this holds that sway bar up, and that's what keeps the bite in the car. And the car got loose, and we kept trying to adjust for it. And this is where our problem was. So we'll have to wait till next week, I guess.
You know, the way I look at it, making a team and a race driver happy is being competitive. Winning is an option. You got to learn that you can't win them all. Otherwise, you'll have a lot of downs in your life. But every time you go to race, you better go to win it, because even to be competitive, you got to go for the win.
For the hidden heroes of the Trickle Racing Team, I'm Dave Bowman.